Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Koufax.
Big thumbs up on the music selection this week, Portrais.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear with a pet dinosaur.
And, man, we are running down the reasons you should or should not see the first 3 episodes of Runaways Season 2. We covered actually the first couple episodes of Season 1. We didn't cover the rest of the season, but we'll talk about whether or not you made...
Because it was a busy year, 2018.
It was so busy. Like, they're literally...
So busy, and it's going to be much busier this year.
This year's worse. It's
Don't
worse.
get me started about 2019.
Sean, I'll tell you a little secret. We probably could have covered more Runaways if we didn't have to cover Sabrina.
It's true. It's true. You can go to hell, Leslie.
So look, sometimes you don't always get what you want. But we're going to be discussing that and whether or not you ought to be kicking back on board, and that is, of course, on Hulu. Before we do get the show started, though, I do want to say thank you to everybody who helped support this program over at patreon.com/HMP. You get some pre-show, post-show, then you also get some Dinger Zone episode. This time we talked about reboots of all kinds. And I'm just going to say mustaches were involved. So if you want to check that out, head on over to patreon.com/HMP and join up in the crew today, everybody. We'd really appreciate that. So as I said, we had talked about Runaways on Hulu for the first couple of episodes, but let's check in and listen to this trailer for the Season 2 of Runaways.
Guard, hurry! Yeah, you're not the one pushing the dinosaur in the shopping cart.
Classic pride.
It's time we bring him home.
To finding our children.
And a 6.5-foot Deinonychus.
We're gonna figure out how to use our powers together as a team.
Trust me.
You keep me something from us.
Our parents lied to us. If we're gonna be different, we gotta trust each other.
Parents are still murderers. And we still have an earthquake to stop.
Do you even know what's at the bottom of that hole? The thing that Jonah is willing to kill for?
They're our parents. How could they be such monsters? They can fix the world that they broke.
Who are you? I'm Topher.
We're against people that we can't beat or outrun.
Do something!
There's something wrong with me.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Season 2 of Runaways. Here's the IMDb plotline. After discovering their parents are supervillains in disguise, a group of teenagers band together to run away from their homes in order to atone for their parents' actions and to discover the secrets of their origins. We have covered this before, but hey, man, we got to do it again, right? Hopefully this stupid thing... There it is. Alrighty, Bruce, what do you got for us?
The Runaways was a comic written by Brian K. Vaughan all the way back in the distant, dark year of 2003. Vaughan is probably best known for Why the Last Man, and it's a statement, not a question. And that's an excellent comic that tackles solid story elements in interesting ways. Mm-hmm. He brought that same set of killer writing skills to the Runaways, and contrary to popular belief, Runaways was the name of the comic, not the team, though later writers, editors, etc. seem to miss that memo. Also, the kids don't get so caught up in superhero code names. But The Runaways is a cool story about a group of kids who spy on their parents and find out they are time-traveling mad scientists, dark wizard crime bosses. And that makes your cousin, the Jehovah's Witness, seem a little less weird, doesn't it? Well, despite being a darn good comic, it was canceled after 18 issues. Runaways was originally part of Marvel's Tsunami imprint, intended to capture younger readers who were drawn to manga, though I don't think that imprint stuck around very long. Wizard magazine called The Runaways one of the best original concepts from Marvel in 30 years, because I guess no one in comics had ever thought of superpowered kids with evil parents before. But in all fairness, the comic subverted or outright avoided most of your superhero tropes. No costumes, no code names, more females than males. At one point, they only had one male member on the team. Anyway, it was cool, different, and good. Any two of those things make a comic worthwhile, and Vaughn had the trifecta. He worked on a screenplay for several years, but a movie never happened. Now, through the magic of Hulu, but sadly, with the absence of Vaughn, the comic has come to the small screen rather than a huge one. Alex Wilder is the first character introduced in the comic series, and he's the team's de facto leader in the title's first volume. Unlike the rest of the team, Alex does not possess powers of any kind, but he's a child prodigy in the fields of logic and strategy. Eventually, the bad guys from Pride incinerate Alex at one point, but comic book deaths are notorious for being temporary. In the pages of Avengers Undercover, Alex was resurrected by the son of Satan, Damian Hellstrom. Unfortunately, he was bound to Hellstrom, and he joined the supervillain team Young Masters. Wilder reappeared in the pages of Power Man and Iron Fist, drawn by South Carolina's own Sanford Green. I happen to have some original art from Power Man and Iron Fist drawn by Sanford Green, so I like to plug that.
Where's your sniff? You should.
Throughout the second half of 2016, 2017. In that book, Alex set up shop in Harlem, attempting to restart Pride by using mystical software to wipe out villains' police records and even spreading a demon drug called Redemption. The Heroes for Hire didn't stand for that, though, and they put a stop to Wilder's schemes, exorcising the demon that possessed him, but leaving him relatively unharmed, leading to his reappearance at the Runaways' hostile doorstep. Nico Minoru is the daughter of honest-to-goodness magicians. Well, dark wizards to be precise. But Nico steals a powerful artifact from her mother, an item known as the Staff of One. Something I'm a little uncomfortable with is that in the comics, Nico had to cut herself to get the staff to appear. I think that's a little too real world for a book aimed at younger readers. But the Staff of One is an ancient magical staff that can cast any spell imaginable. The staff, however, comes with two limitations. First, and most importantly, Nico cannot cast the same spell twice, thus the name Staff of One. If she tries to cast the same spell twice, the spell will misfire and a random effect will occur. The second limitation of the Staff of One is that it cannot be used to bring people back from the dead, as she found out when Alex died. Carolina, who, for all practical purposes, spells her name Carolina, but Carolina is the daughter of aliens, and she sparkles. She can also manipulate solar energy into lasers or something, I don't know. It was subtly hinted at throughout the first volume of Runaways that Carolina harbored a longtime crush on Nico, but in the comics, Nico rebuffed her advances. But fear not, Carolina wound up in a relationship with Julie from Power Pack. I swear I'm not making that up. Now, Gert was supposed to have the codename Arsenic, though I don't think we ever got to see that in the comics. It does, however, cause her dinosaur's nickname of Old Lace to make a little more sense, doesn't it? Let's see. Gert's deal is that she has a dinosaur. She's also Jewish but non-practicing. She's known for her sarcastic one-liners, just like me. Now, Chase is a rich, handsome, dumb jock with fancy punching gloves. His code name is Talkback, though I have no idea why. He should be Punch Guy. Oh yeah. Also, the gloves were destroyed later, and that made Chase simply the getaway driver. Molly is not Latina in the comics, but we won't hold that against her. Molly was originally the team's sole mutant. Molly's mutant powers are superhuman strength and invulnerability, and Molly was named after Brian K. Vaughn's younger sister, Molly Hayes Vaughn. I bet you guys didn't know that.
Did not.
Her trademark is an expansive lineup of hats displayed throughout the comic series. Also, Molly is not Gert's adopted sister in the comics. There were some other characters that bounced in and out of the comics, as well as some character deaths, but I'll hold on to those in case I need to do a connection for Runaways Season 3. Also, go read Y the Last Man if you haven't. They may make a TV show about that.
It's possible. Now, as I said, it's interesting because when we last reviewed Runaways in the first season, we had the first couple of episodes, don't remember, a handful of them. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but for, one reason or another, I never really went back to it. I think you guys both actually thoroughly enjoyed this. And Bruce, you actually made the suggested, if you will, that I should actually not catch up on the rest of season 1 and just jump in at season 2 to see if that could be an envoy for people who have not really seen season 1. And I can say pretty close. I can say it's pretty close. You may, if you watch like the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 1, you can jump into season 2 after that because you've gotten the basic idea. Those last couple episodes really didn't have so much to fill in, plot-wise.
And I'll say that I forgot how fun season 1 was. Somewhere along the way, and we watch a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of stuff going on sometimes, and I think somewhere along the way, my emotional response to Runaways got a little intermingled with my emotional response to Cloak and Dagger, and I thought this show drug a little more than it did. So my memory was a little bit false to me. This was fun. When I started watching episode 1 of season 2, it starts off fun right away.
Yeah, I've loved this property since it first premiered in Marvel Comics. I've read every single thing that the Runaways, every single issue of Runaways. Even after Brian K. Vaughan stopped writing it and Joss Whedon started writing it, I have that as well, that trade. I love these characters. I find them so Brian K. Vaughan-y, and that they're complicated. Like you never get the moment with these characters, at least when Brian K. Vaughan was writing them, where you're like, oh, come on, like who talks like that? He's so good with dialogue.
Well, I know when it comes to comics, I feel like maybe Brian K. Vaughan hasn't done enough. And when you feel that way, that probably means they've done the right amount, because you get people like Bendis, who if he had done a little bit less, I would think he was a lot better maybe than I think he is now, or Grant Morrison or some of these other folks. So it's kind of this weird thing where I wonder, like, man, he was so good. Why didn't he do more? But then again, maybe he did just the right amount he needed to do.
Well, he's also, he's taking the Kirby path. Unlike Kirby, he's not getting screwed over by everybody, but he's not staying in comics. Like, he's written screenplay for the Mask movie. Like, he's written for Lost. He keeps jumping back and forth.
He's wildly instrumental
all the
in
better
Lost,
for us as readers, because everything he's done so far, I've liked it. In comic books, I've liked everything he's done.
And honestly, like, of course, Y the Last Man is great. Runaways is great. And then I struggle to think of what else he's done.
Ex Machina.
I didn't really read that, but I've heard good things. I didn't really read it. I mean, I didn't read it.
I love that book. His Doctor Strange trade is really good. Yeah, I can't remember what that's called right now, but that's really good. And Saga.
Oh, Saga, man. That's what he's doing. And Saga is like the best indie comic ever. It just like is at the top of the heap. So he doesn't need to do anything else. Yeah, I can't believe Fiona Staples, Brian K. Vaughan. Saga's going on hiatus soon, so I have already kind of written that off. But yeah, I love Saga. I've read Saga.
Yeah, he's to me he is literally my favorite comic book writer now. For years and years it was Garth Ennis, but
when you look at the body of his work and you take the good with the bad, it's going to be hard to argue anybody's better than him, because most people have those bad things to their credit list.
Yeah. I mean, even your comic book Jesus didn't.
Oh my goodness, there's some bad stuff.
There's
in
a lot of
I mean, the latest couple volumes of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Not the best.
Oh, really?
This thing, Cinema Purgatorio, that he does is not so good. Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that he's definitely got some stinkers coming out now. He's gotten too far into the universe where he doesn't have to work with an editor anymore. Right. He's kind of got the Lucas thing going on.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want because I'm Alan Moore.
And I got the hardcover volume of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen where Harry Potter was the Antichrist, and that's the last kind of cool thing I think he's done.
Oh, boy. That's so weird.
That does sound cool. So to get to back to Brian K. Vaughan and Runaways. So last year, season 1, the thing I remember most that we were talking about is how surprised we were with how good the casting was for season 1. That not only were the actors, and they're young, good actors, but they even look like their comic book counterparts.
Yeah.
And so for season 2, with that being, that being the norm, that isn't something to recommend it anymore because now it has to work on its own steam.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Adam, I watched all of Runaways. I watched the entire season 1 because I love this show, and I was anxiously awaiting season 2. And so when season 2 came out, I actually saved it. So over Christmas break, I would have something super enjoyable to watch, and so I watched all of it.
Now, did these, I'm not sure, maybe, I don't know if you guys even know, did these come out all in one swath, or were they, okay. I didn't know if they were going
now being
by
released in Canada, one per week. I found out.
Really?
Yeah.
Poor Canadians.
Yeah, I think it's being broadcast in Canada, though. It's not streaming.
Oh. Well, the season 2 starts off right away. It starts off great.
It starts off fun. I just want to say that. Like, I like fun stuff. I think that goes to be said, that I can forgive a whole lot of story elements and special effects and things like that if I think it's fun. And for some reason, as soon as we start with them chasing that guy on the bike, I'm just giggling and having fun, man. I like that. The goofy guy on the bike that looks like he should be like from Workaholics or something.
Well, that is the thing with this show, isn't it? Is that there is so much more to recommend it than to damn it. And so I think that there's a lot that I forgive on this show, specifically because I want it to be so great. The other part with the first season is that they really strayed from the source material, because within the first story arc, their family, all of the pride is dead. Everyone's dead except for our heroes, and our heroes keep getting knocked off too, and so to not have that happen in the show, I am constantly surprised by the plot twist that happened on the show. There are times where it's like, come on guys, you can do better than that, but for the most part, I really, really enjoy this show.
But in a weird way, to me, even with the changes, like the plot point changes, it still feels like the same story. Like they capture the feel, which is more important to me than telling the exact same story.
Right. And if we've learned anything from these years of Marvel doing it correctly and all of this jazz, that is the statement. You do not have to be completely perfect on the story as long as you get the feel of it.
I mean, look at Preacher alone just being the way that it is, like so far off the rails, but yet we all get some, pretty good enjoyment out of what they're doing with what they've got.
And one thing I am going to say about the characters here, Molly definitely looks older than she did last year. Like, she's at that age where you can have that sort of growth spurt.
Yeah.
And she looked a little too old for the way they were trying to play the character last year. So it is kind of funny watching her run down the road, chasing the guy on the bike while she's wearing like stuff my daughter wore when she was about 9 or 10. And this clearly 16-year-old actress running in the overall shorts with the stocking cap on from Adventure Time or whatever. I get it's unintentionally funny there, but you know what? I take my funny where I can get it.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? How far did you get last year? You didn't watch the rest of it?
No, I didn't. Not for, I thought it was good enough, but I mean, I think it was just, I don't know, with all the movies that I caught 100 and some odd movies in the theater last year, people. I go to the movies a lot. So television doesn't get taken as much time for me. It's certainly taken a backseat outside of a lot of the things that we watch for this program.
Now,
but I liked what I saw well enough to, and of course, I think even with what little bit that I've got, it definitely fed and felt like I had enough information going in, and the recap they did at the top of this was real good. In case you haven't seen anything.
Now, what did you guys think about Alex and his relationship with Darius, his father's arch enemy, the former prison guy that took the fall so his dad could get out, and then his dad double crossed him on the outside, all that kind of stuff? I'm kind of liking Darius, and I'm liking Alex's interaction with him. And I really loved it when he thought he was going to have to like dispose of a dead body or something, and he just wants him to paint a room. Like, I love that twist. Like, even criminals need a room painted on occasion, you know?
Seriously though, some of these people, you gotta start telling people. You gotta start telling people that, like, hey, this is just a normal thing that we're doing. I'm like, or wait a minute, which do you get more scared about? Somebody going, I don't want you to get upset, I don't want you to get freak out or anything, but I'm going to bring you over to this place. Would you start getting creeped out then, or would you rather just not, know and think that you're going to get assassinated, Joe Pesci style, if you walk into this house?
But the thing is, let's say you have a specialized career. Let's just say you're a taxidermist, and everybody thinks of you as the taxidermist, but you think of you as a person who happens to have that job. So you don't necessarily think when you call somebody to come over to your house and you have some plastic tarp and a few knives laid out, that they're going to assume you want them to skin an animal because you're a taxidermist. But as a taxidermist, you don't think you have to explain that we need to repaint this room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you live that life, you think you're normal more than other people do.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was something weirdly off-putting but cool about it, where he's kind of normal. Like, this guy is a criminal, but there's also like the day-to-day operations of being a criminal, and he's good to his lady and her family, and that part's cool. In my day job, I take care of all kinds of people from all walks of life, ethically, no questions asked. They need what I got to do, I do it. And you will find out that sometimes I take care of prisoners, and I never ask what they're in for, but I'm sure some of them are probably murderers and rapists and stuff. But when they're at the office, they act like everybody else. I mean, for the most part, most people are like regular people.
That's how I normally do. I do it under my voice. I just go, "You're not a killer. You're not a killer. Don't tell me you're a killer. Don't tell me."
but I mean, that's the truth. You'll meet some really. In fact, I would imagine that a lot of criminals being charismatic and nice probably helps them in their career.
Sure.
Jeffrey Dahmer was a nice guy. Then he killed some people.
But when the sister-in-law, I guess is what she is, the younger sister of Darius's wife, I'm assuming, his partner, I'll say, boy, she has an instant attraction to Alex that I don't know that I bought that right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't buy that either. And again, this is one of those things where, as much as I love the show, and I do love the show, there are things that stretch credulity. And this is definitely one of those moments where, I get it. Like, he needs to have a love interest, and it can't be Nico and, all of this other stuff. But come on, we could like that girl is not going to be attracted to that guy. It's just not going to happen.
And also, Alex doesn't need a love interest. I mean, this show would be just fine if Alex didn't have a love interest. I'm a firm believer that people feel that the audience demands a love interest far more than we actually do.
I totally agree. Look at Law and Order. The TV show Law and Order, for 20 years, there was no love interest. There was no backstory on those characters.
Why doesn't Sam have a wife?
I really wanted Fred Thompson to find the right woman on that show.
Man, you're right about that. Let's watch him mac on some old lady.
and I know you're going into dangerous territory when you're talking about hairstyle, but as a fan of the comic books, I loved how much this actor looked like Alex from the comic books, and when they changed his hairstyle, it didn't work for me.
Now, can I ask a question of you guys? Have you seen, because having seen just watched this trailer for the first time here, I got something different that I wasn't 100% sure of. Does he stay in, because have you guys seen the rest of this season? I would think.
Yes.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay, Sean, does he continue to have the cornrows throughout the entire season?
No.
Okay, because it was interesting because I saw a couple things where his hair was back to normal. I go, did they CGI his hair in the promos to make it not that?
Only the movies do that. The TV shows do not.
I thought, wow, that's an extravagant thing that they went through for
and
really nothing.
I'm watching this show. My wife has no idea what the premise is. She walks into the room and sees Alex with the braided hair, and she goes, that guy's way too like suburban for that hair.
The Allen Iverson
wow,
story.
You don't even know the show, and you already caught on to that. Doesn't work with this kid. He's like, no, he's got too much of a baby face or something. But the hairstyle, nothing against the hairstyle. Probably looks great if I weren't just if I'd never read the comics, maybe it wouldn't bother me. But I was so impressed with how dead on Alex was. Yeah. And then I've never seen Alex with that hairstyle in the comics, and that's the comic book fan part of me that I wish I could get rid of. Sometimes I can't. And also, if he never looked like Alex from the comics, I could have probably gone with it. Like in Legion, I can go with it. But you can't give me exactly what the most primitive comic book fan part of me wants and then take it away.
I'll tell you this.
Didn't I hear you say off air earlier, Bruce, that and you would prefer it if the entire cast was white too, right?
I did not say that. I said I would prefer
I could have sworn I heard you say that. I could have sworn.
I would have preferred it if the entire cast were Hmong people from Cambodia.
Trust me.
Very underrepresented in comic book movies.
If you made all these people like Bush babies or something, he'd be all on top of it.
Hmong. Spelled with an H. The H is
white
silent.
Alex Wilder.
Oh, no. Boy, you're going to make me look bad. I'm already.
No.
You already look bad.
Hey,
I'm Sean Kovacs. I play it loose.
Listen, man. I am a white, middle-aged, rural American. I'm the most open-minded person that's out there demographically speaking. Upper middle class, too, so that helps.
They've said it every day.
I wake up and people that don't even know me say, "Are you sure you're not a Republican?" But anyway, moving on. I don't want to get into this kind of stuff.
So at least they finally ran away, yes? I mean, for heaven's sake, we spent the first season being indoors.
Well, to be fair, because you did not watch last season, they were on the run for the second half of the entire season.
Fair.
Now, what's your take on the decision they made to go with the Nico Carolina relationship, Sean?
I'm totally fine with it because they do touch on that in the comics. It just happens later. But
but Nico rebuffs her advances
initially.
I think perpetually because she moves on.
Oh, you're right.
But they decided to add it, and at some points there's a part of me that I'm cool with changing the comic storyline, but there's parts of me that wonder if they're not doing it just to be a little.
Well, of course,
a little salacious.
Of course,
that's the exact reason why they're doing it, Bruce. I mean, of course, and that part drives me insane because that's the only reason why they're doing it. They're not doing it to be open-minded. They're not doing it to be progressive. It's because you're going to get more 14-year-old boys watching this show. And
even if they'd had like more of a conversation about it or something where I don't know. It's just happened and they have to show these kisses on screen. And I don't know. I felt like they're just being a little salacious when it's not needed for an already good show.
And to me, the thing is I don't, within how the show represents them, I don't buy that from these two characters. I don't buy that relationship kind of at all.
Yeah, and it would have been interesting too if they had reversed the roles and maybe had Nico interested and Carolina has to apologize and say sorry, but I'm just that's just not me. But that might have been interesting too. But they didn't go with it, and I still think of Nico as goth Miley Cyrus mainly because of the voice.
She does sound so much like her. It's crazy.
Like they're trying to pander a little bit to the 14-year-olds, as Miley once did. Not so much these days.
That's a whole new group these days.
Now she's married and straight and narrow. She's a regular old Bruce Leslie.
My wife told me she got her tattoos removed or something.
What?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, but I bet it was painful.
That's from everyone that I know that has had that removal. Yes, I hear very painful.
Something else, man. If we're going to talk about like the relationship stuff, let's just get all the relationship stuff out and move on. How about that? Because I don't like when it comes to being a movie fan, just call me asexual because I have no interest in any sort of relationship.
Can you stop the kissing and start the punching, please?
Well, with this, Livy is the name of Darius's sister-in-law that Alex starts kind of, having a little bit of a courtship with. And there's a scene where I was kind of impressed in a way that, we live in a time where you really need to stress the importance of consent, I believe, for young folks in particular. And he actually says, "Is it okay if I kiss you?" Which is a good thing. You don't see that a lot.
For sure.
And she goes, most guys don't ask, which, okay, that's okay. I can go with it. But then I almost felt like it's sending a signal. If I'm the 15-year-old kid that wants to go in for the kiss, asking is the wrong thing to do. And I don't think they need to send that signal right now. And then as the, let's say the courtship progresses to lying on the couch with your shirt off, he asks again if this is okay, which is a good move. For anybody watching, listening, that's a good move to just reaffirm consent if you think it's escalating. And then her comeback is, oh, so you want to make this as awkward as possible. Like they sort of do the right thing, and then they kind of undermine it to the point I think they would have been better off just not trying to do it at all.
Because honestly, Bruce, that's the truth of it. Because
I know it's the truth.
Those should be the things that you have, but it is weird and just kind of like, it's unromantic. You don't need to
discourage people anymore from making sure that they're above board. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true. And I mean, it's like in the 70s when you have Sesame Street on, they're treating Sesame Street in the 70s is treating it like it's a normal thing for black people and white people to get along all the time and share things and all this other jazz, even though that isn't what was happening at the time. And it normalizes it. And that's what should be happening in pop culture. Is doing the right thing should be normalized through pop culture, because it's going to make the path go a lot easier later.
And that's why I felt like this sort of went halfway, and they could have just done something that I haven't seen other shows do before, and they kind of muddied the water more than was necessary. And I feel like they had dueling writers in the writer's room that were like ready to strangle each other over these scenes.
But that's great, and that's exactly what you want. Look, man, like confrontation and arguments over who is doing the right thing is exactly what you want in a writer's room, because that means that you have people who care. When you have no one, when you have one person, one voice doing all of the work, that is when your show is going to go off the rails and it gets bad really quick. You want to have that other voice going, no, that's not what you do here. And so that I think that might be one of the reasons why I like the show, is that clearly when you're watching episodes, I'm seeing different people writing. Like maybe they have writers who are good with Gert, who are better with Gert, and there's writers who are better with Chase. But when it comes to plot points and when it comes to the way that people are behaving in certain dynamic situations, that changes from show to show. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because it keeps me guessing with this show that is far, far better than it has any reason to be.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Adam likes it that they keep it real in a show that involves a pet dinosaur.
Listen, and I'll say this, for having a pet dinosaur and keeping the word real, I think there was a lot of puppet dinosaur in this, which I was stoked about.
Yeah, me too.
Now
he's not wrong, man. That's cool.
The last relationship question, then we can move on. But what do you think about Chase and Gert? I think I find that more believable than I expected.
I find that to be the least believable bit of all of this.
Well, here is the thing that they're never going to do on the show, which I love, because at first when it started happening, I was thinking, because it's source material, blah blah blah. But this actress who's on the show is actually a very pretty girl outside of her character in this show.
Yeah.
But they are never, these writers, this show will never give her the moment where she's going to be, she's not going to be a smokestack where she takes off the glasses and she's wearing the pretty dress and she's walking down the stairs. Like that's, she's all that is never going to happen in this movie.
I have a friend in real life who, not so much now, she's gotten older, but I mean, she had like the unnatural colored hair, the same glasses, the same kind of, she looked very similar to Gert in this show. Same voice, same kind of attitude too. And she couldn't understand why everybody thought she was gay, which was always kind of funny, but they could have had a little fun with that here. But I've also been in situations with certain guys, and Chase is one of these kind of guys that like, they can't be alone. So suddenly stuff that they didn't consider before, they will in a certain situation. And they're in this stressful situation where Nico and Carolina are now not available and Molly's too young. So I absolutely believe in his emotional weakness, he would latch on to Gert.
Great googly moogly. That sounds like me.
Honestly,
that was me. That was me a couple of years ago for Sure.
But honestly, yeah, that was like the only thing that was the only way that my mind could reckon this relationship was just like, he knows the other stuff's off the table because that kid wouldn't go for that other kid in that situation, not in a real life situation.
Well, this, in a stressful real life situation where you're isolated, I could absolutely see
Well,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
If I may here, I'll be honest with you. If I saw this relationship in real life, and I saw them walking together, I would immediately think that the boy was gay. I'm not kidding.
This is the sort of thing, like as soon as they're rescued from the island, he acts like he doesn't know her.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I think could play out as this show goes on, because I think it's clever enough to deal with that in an interesting way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do we want to talk about next? How about that domicile they just happened to find? An unoccupied huge mansion in Southern California.
I love how these things exist in all of fiction. It is some of my favorite stuff in the world where we just go, well, I'll be doggone. Look at this. And it won't take, we'll act like it takes a lot to get it up and running, but it don't. It's easy.
Especially the electricity where, like you see him putting together a couple of things and it's working.
You just knocked out all power to the Griffith Observatory.
Meanwhile, in Southern California, it's $6,000 a month to rent a porta potty.
But somehow this giant house is
so dumb. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's
an eccentric millionaire. An eccentric millionaire built a bomb shelter and died without telling anybody where it was. That's what we have to believe happened.
You know what's way more believable is that they stumble into some actor's gigantic mansion and he is off somewhere. He's off in Czechoslovakia filming Ghost Rider 2. You know what I mean? Like, that is way more believable than what they end up doing.
Yeah, or they squat somewhere believable that one might squat. But this is just ludicrous. But, hey, I like the David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury, so I'm going with it.
I love how what's his nose is ticked off because he just bought tents. Like,
I just bought tents. It would have been funny if he
keep that
insisted
receipt,
they put the tents up inside the house.
If we're picking, can we call this the picking nit section?
Oh, right.
Sure,
Yeah,
go right ahead, man.
Because I got to tell you that the house is a big nit to pick for me, but the gigantic one, especially being such a fan of the books, is that the parents aren't evil.
They're not
anymore. Not on this show.
It's like there's a couple that are maybe kind of bad.
It's the ladies.
Well, they all have a counterpoint. They all have a counterpoint who's not quite so bad. Like James Marsters' wife is a lady who's not bad at all.
Right.
And then I feel like the Gert's parents, they are not evil at all.
I love
They're
Gert's
just
parents still.
Yeah.
They are still my favorite part of the show.
And you're right though, man. It doesn't have the same menace at all that the comic had with Pride. But we still got the evil alien who, even him, I don't know if he's so much evil or is it just sort of like his
survival.
His survival, so to speak. I'm still not sure what their overarching evil plan is. Like they were going to dig something up that was going to destroy California, but that's nowhere near as evil as the comic book plan. Like it's accidentally evil in the show, whereas it's intentionally evil in the comics. This alien race wants to take over the earth, This is
how evil the Pride is in the books, is that they are such a menace that no super powered villain would dare even go out to the West Coast without their approval. Yeah. That's why they basically are telling you the reason why all of this action is happening on the East Coast is because no one dares go to the West Coast because that's where the Pride is.
Just the Runaways and Hawkeye.
Exactly. And it was great. It was one of the things that was very cool about the books. The scene that keeps coming into my head is that because the Pride goes away, Kingpin decides, I'm going to California. I'm going to see what I can do out there. And the Runaways run into him at a restaurant. And it is such a great scene. It's so good and it's so well written and it's so very, very Brian K. Vaughan.
And I've still got my fingers crossed for a Vincent D'Onofrio cameo in season 3.
Oh, man. Well, he's going to be working with James Gunn in about 2 minutes here. So.
Oh, nice. But I don't know. I don't have a whole lot more in the way of nits to pick because I tried to just enjoy this.
I've got more.
Well, let's hear.
Don't you worry.
Anti-nits. I've got an anti-nit. I don't know if this counts as a nit or not, but I think honestly, if you had a pet dinosaur like Old Lace, you could just walk around with it out in the open and no one is going to believe it's a dinosaur. They're going to ask you, how are you making that thing work?
What is
there
that?
Somebody in there? Yeah. I don't think you have to go to all the trouble they go to hide the dinosaur.
Nobody's going over in a corner. Dinosaur.
Although I do love that about this show is that they're doing that. Another nit I have is it is going by the shield method of characters where no one is ever dead ever, and that makes me insane, especially on a show like this, especially knowing what this story came from. Everybody dies all the time in the Runaways. It's what makes it so interesting. You know, it's not the same kids the entire run of the books because kids keep dying or going away or trying to find themselves and they're tired of being a runaway. Like, all of that stuff is great. There is none of that in this show. And also having them now in the mansion that shouldn't exist in real life. Now the ticking clock, the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid of it all, of having this, this thing after you and you have to stay on the move, having that gone, they made it work for season 2, but it isn't going to work for season 3. They're going to need to do something else. They're going, and I hope that somebody has learned their lesson from Walking Dead, that you cannot stay on the farm forever.
Ugh, that's what made me leave this show.
It's what made me leave the show.
Now, if you were the kind of eccentric millionaire that had a Rolls Royce in storage, and not just any Rolls Royce, one that actually has the steering wheel on the wrong side, like actually was shipped over from England, like prepared to be driven in England and brought here, you probably have the keys stored near the car. Like, it doesn't make sense to have this vehicle in a bomb shelter and then have the keys somewhere else.
Judith, when I die, I want you to bury me with my Bentley keys. I don't want anybody else getting around.
But seriously, though, it's kind of funny.
You would realistically keep it on the car. I mean, honestly, you would.
Yeah, or at least on a hook in the room with the car.
Somewhere around, or just adjacent to said room.
Like, I grew up in a family. Now, we didn't have any Rolls Royces, but it was not uncommon for us to maybe have 5 or 6 cars at a time, and you have to organize those keys. You know what I mean? You don't just have one big keychain like a janitor.
A key hook up by the door.
Yeah, you have the keys on a hook in the garage usually, or stored on a pegboard.
Get with it, television program.
But I do love that they got an old Rolls Royce as their car, because boy, that's inconspicuous.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. You know that they found it or something, and they were like, "Oh, we got to write this in."
Why not the
we
Munsters
can't have
mobile?
The Hoppin' Frog from the books.
Why not the Munsters mobile at this point? That would have been awesome. They're cruising around L.A. in the Munsters mobile. Dragula.
It would be less conspicuous. I know that. The other thing too, the other nit I have to pick is that characters just have complete amnesia when it comes to things that characters have done in the past on this show, and that is another thing I cannot stand. You know, everything that James Marsters character did in season 1, completely forgotten about in season 2. Basically what they go are, hey, he's a bad guy, and they're like, yeah, I know, but he's still my dad. Okay, well, forgiven.
And here's where it's obligatory for me to say I love James Marsters. I always have to do that when his name gets mentioned, but I'm not loving so much his time in purgatory. Like that's another one of those you got to get off the farm soon kind of deals. Because I'm not.
Did we just figure out a jumping the shark?
I think we did, man. It's the comic book equivalent. The comic book equivalent.
You're welcome, America.
Staying on the farm.
And some of England.
I like it when I talk to like normal people that aren't like us, and I ask them, hey, have you guys ever figured out exactly when Happy Days jumped the shark? Most people don't know the answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's literally that.
That's the point.
They don't know that even? Wow, you hang around a hot lot.
Go into any Bob Evans and see how many people answer that correctly.
Listen,
I would say to you that the median of America does not go to Bob Evans.
Oh, touche, Mr. Koufax.
I see that Bob Evans when I drive by it. I'm just like, I could not imagine a situation in my life that would say, you know what, that's where I'm going to go today. Don't know why.
I like the limitation on the staff of one. Have they called it the staff of one, or they just called it like nothing? Like it's just the staff.
It feels like somebody threw out staff of one here and there, but I don't know.
I like it that it took her a little while to figure out what the gimmick was, but also she figured it out kind of quickly at the same time.
It's just like, oh, it doesn't do it again. And you have to say, like, instead of like jump start or car start, like, I feel like she'd have to have like a book of, just a dictionary so she can start looking up. Yeah, exactly. It's a thesaurus or something.
And then I start wondering, what about?
Shut up. You know what? All of you could just straight sit and spin.
Do other languages work? Like, could you say the word in French and then Spanish and then Japanese? Like, could you just work your way through languages also? I don't know.
I understand it only works with English.
I enjoy our time together, guys. That's a very good question. First of all, let's get that out there. That's a fine question. I would like to see them explore that more on the television show Runaways. Secondly, Adam's response. Come on. What's better than that? That's so good. Anyway, I do not believe that I know that if we're talking books, it doesn't do that. You cannot use other languages, but in the show, everything's topsy-turvy.
We used Dothraki and it worked this time. Shut up.
Yeah, can you use Klingon? Do they even have to be actual languages?
Yeah. You just
I only speak Jawa.
Spurt out some gobbledygook, and they'll be like, "Okay, I like." The staff just starts interpreting. I think you mean this.
It's just a good thing Groot. It's a good thing Groot didn't get that staff. One use and it's done.
Yeah, what if you have a lisp and you're using the staff of one? What happens then?
What if you do excellent dialects like I do?
Oh, yeah. You special, but I ain't doing that.
Clearly taking classes like Bruce Leslie. What happens then?
I do love it though that they have kind of almost every comic book, cartoon, comic book adaptation has an incident like this where she holds out the staff, she says wall, and about 6 feet of asphalt make a little wall that stops the Mercedes, but never once does the guy think about going around that 6 feet of wall.
Well, I'm stuck here forever, I guess.
What will I ever do?
To the limitations of television.
My car only goes in drive. No reverse mode, no nothing.
And why wall? Why not just say lake? He's not getting out of that lake.
Black hole.
Boy, and that's the thing. I mean, I know, okay.
Bottomless pit of despair.
Can you just do literally them once, or is it just maybe does it ever reset? I know it's a silly question.
And at least one time she's going to get startled and somebody's getting turned into a big pile of human excrement because she says that.
The one just goes, "Oh, I know what this is." Bam.
You just used it. You used it. The only one you got, and it was an accident.
I was trying to fetch Nana's saucer of tea, but it turns out.
So let me ask you this question, fellas. So, having seen, because Bruce, did you watch more than 3 episodes?
Nope.
So, would you go back and watch more of this? Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about 2 other things. I feel like we're running long on time.
No, we're okay. We're plenty. Okay, we're good.
Well, I like Molly deciding to go out and do her vigilante thing at night, and I really like her very kitty-fied mask. And there's, once again, it goes back to something I probably talked about on the Dinger Zone, where I like somebody that looks like a cute kid that is deadly. And Molly here, the lady, the lady that's probably 16, 17, kind of pushing it for being the cute kid, but they dress her in the blue jean short.
Got to start giving that kid some coffee and cigarettes. Keep her tiny.
If I may, I think we have a new character into the Leslie verse.
What's that?
Cute kid.
Oh yeah, man, they're all cute kids in the Leslie verse. I got to tell you, but anyway, I like her going out there and beating up the same pimp twice too. Yeah. I guess LA is kind of a small town because there's one pimp.
Sometimes it sure can feel that way. Am I right?
There's one pimp, and he's made in a way so as not to be offensive to any minority group. And she flattens him twice. You'd think he'd learn his lesson the first time, but she goes back a second time, and then Topher follows her home. Now, I haven't seen the rest of the season, and I don't know how spoilery we want to get it, but I know Topher from the comics. I don't know if Topher is going to go the same way in the show that he goes in the comics, though.
It's exciting.
But
what about your other thing? I'm not gonna.
I think those were the two things. I like Molly's vigilante thing, and then Topher. I could see them maybe spinning Topher as the long lost brother she didn't know she had, which is totally different from the comics. I'll have to see how that plays out.
And Adam, what about you? You watched 3 episodes. Do you think you're going to watch more of the show?
I don't know. Like I don't dislike the show, but I'm not wild about it. I'm okay.
I think the thing that fascinates me most about the show is the actors themselves. Like I really, really like the performances. Because it's so hard to watch a show with children on it and not just go, oh, my God, you couldn't find someone else. And while I would not call these kids actually children, I mean, they're 18 years old, all of them, I think, at this point.
I think the blonde one's like 24 or something. Everybody else is pretty young.
They're really great, and I at this point now I know if I see them in something else I'm going to be like, oh my God! Let me give you the perfect example of this. So I'm watching, for reasons I cannot explain to you currently, I'm watching an old episode of The Office, and Nico's mom shows up as a waitress in this restaurant they're at, and I was like, oh my God, that's Nico's mom.
Now, in Turnabout's Fair Play, Steve Carroll's going to be in season 3 of The Runaways. So.
Steve Carroll is? I don't know who that is.
Did I say his name wrong?
Oh, yes, you did.
Of course you did. You're Bruce Leslie.
Swing and a miss, everybody.
Ricky
Chalk
Gervais.
one up for
Ricky
those.
Gervais. Ricky Gervais will be in
For those of you
Gervais
playing
will
the
be
HMP drinking game at home, I'm sorry.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Stephen Carell will be on there.
Better.
But
Oh, then yes. Okay.
so do you remember Topher from the comics at all, Sean?
Of course I do.
Am I spoiling it for our listeners if I just mention what Topher was in the comics, having not seen?
Yes.
I will?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll shut up about Topher.
Keep
Wanted
it.
to talk about him some more, but I better not.
I enjoyed his work on that 70s show.
But I do think
where he comes from in the books is not the same as in the TV show.
Okay.
But there is something there.
Okay. And I will say that I do think after the Runaways has run its course, or maybe even before it has run its course, I do think we're going to see Alex and Nico, Gert and Molly in more stuff. Not so sure about Chase and Carolina, because there are a million Chase and Carolinas out there in Hollywood. They're kind of standard types. But I think we're going to see a lot out of those other 4. I've been pretty impressed with their performance and their acting and stuff. I haven't seen much I like out of Chase and Carolina.
Well, you want me to knock you on the floor with some information about Chase?
I think the Raptors got a great future in Hollywood, but that's just me. Go ahead, John.
British.
Well, aren't they all? They're either British or Australian, right?
That's how it works. We only let those people
American
be superheroes.
accent is incredible.
It's better than Cumberbatch.
Oh my God, Cumberbatch has the worst American accent ever.
I don't know. I still say Gerard Butler's cop accent that he brings to every role.
That is pretty bad too. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Also, Simon Pegg, terrible American accent on that guy.
I don't know that I've ever seen him try it.
Ready Player One, he plays an American.
Oh, I've seen that movie,
that's not good.
Hi, how are you?
Ugh, this is weird. Why are you talking like that? And it's like, I had a stroke.
And Dick Van Dyke's going, oh, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you, that's what kind of kills me about that new Mary Poppins movie, and it's one of those 2-word things, was Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm just going, is he doing this accent bad, like on purpose, or
yes,
is he just
the answer? Yes, he is. He's doing it bad on purpose because it's Mary Poppins.
Gosh, I wish he would have just tried to make a good one. And like, we've already got one of the weird. We got the other one. We don't need another one that's just like that one.
Hey, why don't you do? You know what? If somebody wants to make some quick money, kind of like those schlockbuster movies that come out, like Atlantic Rim. Somebody needs to make a Harry Poppins movie. Just super low tack.
There's a musical. Oh man, I can't think of what they call it. They changed just enough to get around copyright, but there is a Harry Potter musical where they're at Warthog's Academy, and I'm pretty sure he's like Perry Hodder or something like that. But it's pretty funny when you look at all the names that they have to pick just to get around it. Like, it's almost as much fun as the comedy of the musical itself. But there is a totally unlicensed Harry Potter musical at Hogwarts Academy. Warthog Academy. You just look it up sometime. It's funny stuff.
Did you say Mary Poppins? No, I said Sherry Bobbins. I'm a completely original character.
Oh, you've seen The Simpsons too, I see.
Like Ronald Rucker, Ricky Rouse. All right, before we get down to reviewing this bad boy, we have to ask ourselves one of the most important questions in life. Why are we here? What's the meaning of it all? No, the more important question is, how does this television show relate to one Sylvester Stallone?
Hey, that was a good intro. Gentlemen, please allow me to tell you about a man named Dan Romero. Without having ever met Dan Romero, I can tell you confidently that we could all stand to be a bit more like this man. On his IMDb page, where he could say whatever he wants about himself, he mentions he's been married to his wife for 40 years and how proud he is of his daughter. That's the measure of a good man. Now, when I look at the IMDb page of former host Sean Keenan, he doesn't mention his kids or any loved ones at all. You know what he does mention? The stupid podcast. He mentions that. Now, Dan Romero is an actor, a producer, and on the TV show Runaways, you guys want to take a guess what he does on that show?
Boom mic operator.
Adam?
I'm going to guess that he drives some sort of truck.
Transpo captain. He's
Boom.
a teamster.
No.
He worked on massive, important movies as a teamster, or as I like to refer to them as, the unsung heroes of film and television.
Yes.
Dan Romero has worked on movies like Predator 2, important movies like Vegas Vacation and The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas. And as far as TV shows go, I think everybody remembers where they were during the final episode of Trade Winds. And I defy anyone to not shed a tear at the season 6 episode of Nash Bridges entitled Out of Miami. And not only did he work in the transportation department on Nash Bridges, he was the transportation captain.
Oh.
Nash Bridges would have crashed down around Don Johnson's ears if it weren't for superstars like Dan Romero. Now let's head to the year 1994, when a group of people realized that the world would be a little bit better if a movie called The Specialist existed. And in 1994, if you needed star power and if Sylvester Stallone was available, you call Sylvester Stallone. And when you need a transportation captain, you call Dan Romero. That is just what they did. Dan Romero is a gem of a man. Your Stallone connection this week is Dan Romero, who is just a beautiful, beautiful human being. Thank you. I'm Sean Kovacs. Thank you.
Very good. Now, let's get down to it, everybody. Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Check that out at facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. And while you're there, throw a like up on that page, man. Bruce, where does the first 3 episodes of Runaways Season 2 fall on the Robin rating system for you, sir?
Well, first of all, I can't continue until I wrap this up. No one in this house besmirches Lin-Manuel Miranda's singing abilities. That guy's great. But as for the show, I remembered not liking season 1 as much as you guys did. But then I went back and looked at where I rated it, and I rated it a Tim Drake, which is a pretty good rating. So I'm glad to know that I did enjoy it, even if I didn't remember enjoying it. As I really thought, man, I must have dropped the ball on season 1. But I was happy that I gave it a Tim Drake, and I think it's held up that quality. I'm going to give, I had a lot of fun. I'm going to give what I've seen so far this season. I'm going to stick with the old Tim Drake-arino here.
I'm going to go next. For me, it's just a high Damian Wayne. I enjoy this. I think it may end up being a lot like last season where I've watched a couple. I go, that's not bad. And then for whatever reason, I just don't get around to watching the rest of it. It's not that I think it's terrible because I think it actually is pretty decent. But squeezing in TV time, man, you got to be pretty... Okay, you got to be either like an amazing... For new stuff, you got to be amazingly good or like you're an old episode of Seinfeld that I can just put on the background and have nothing. Sean?
This is the rarest of HMP occasion. This is like getting a picture of a giant squid. I am the person who likes the property we were reviewing the most this week. That is crazy to me.
Wild
that
stuff.
never happens ever. I love this show, as you guys know. It's one of my favorite shows to watch. I know it's ridiculous. I know there's things about it that are just so stupid, but I love it anyway, and I love it because of the acting. I like it because I love Brian K. Vaughan. I want to see all of Brian K. Vaughan's stuff on television or in movies. And so for me, I'm giving it a very high Jason Todd. Not Jason Todd.
Oh boy, that took a heck of a turn.
Tim Drake. I very, very much like this movie or this TV show.
Very good. So, you know what? You guys ought to make the decision for yourself. Head on out and check it out on Hulu. The whole season's available right now, and we know the majority of people out there, as in America, are pretty much all on Hulu, unless you're in Canada, which, in case I hear, I guess you guys are kind of out of luck, unless you want to wait. Well, that is it, everybody, for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we're going to have a little movie called Glass. That's right. We end M. Night Shyamalan's trilogy that no one knew was a trilogy when it started out so long ago. We'll get into the history of that and all that kind of good stuff next week. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Still time for people to vote for the Chubbies. Go to facebook.com/Chubby Wizard and vote for your favorite comic book stuff of the year. A couple days left for those votes to get in, and surprising turnout this year compared to last year. So I'm living large on that. And then also go check out Nerd Spawn Genesis, a great book that I wrote about 2 years ago that's still for sale on Amazon.com, where there's a trio of evil teamsters in it. So I think you'd enjoy that.
I was just laughing because I don't know why, but I pictured someone winning one of the chubbies there and just like screams, "Hey Ma, I got a chubby!" it's just horrible. Sean,
you can find me at my new website, KoufaxOnTheMove.com, where all of your Sean Koufax news is readily available. Content, such funny reviews. Please go to Sean Koufax. I'm sorry, what did I say earlier? KoufaxOnTheMove.com, and it's a real website. It's real.
It's real.
Oh, it's real for sure. It's not fake.
I
promise you, it's not fake. There's something wrong with your computer, I think.
It's not available in some countries, so just because there's extradition rules, you know how things are.
It's a slow rollout. Starting with Suriname.
Wrong with your computer because it is totally real.
I'm not crashing these servers. That's not going to happen, everybody. You gotta get it out slowly but surely. Let's not be nuts.
On the move.
All right, everybody, join us next week for Glass. For Sean Koufax, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
Wow, that's a dialect.
I like that one.
On the street where you live, girls talk about their social lives. They made a lipstick, plastic, and flame. Such a secret in your eyes. All your life, all your past, when your daddy gonna talk to you. But you was living in another world, trying to get a message through. She's a little runaway.